إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد. Here we are entering into the last half of the month of Ramadan. And just as we were welcoming the month, we're about to welcome the last 10 nights of Ramadan. And very soon, the month will be over as well. And we are reminded of the fact that Allah Azza wa Jal, He called these days limited number of days, ayyaman ma'dudat. And this is a call for all of us to remember that these days too shall pass very soon. And before you know it, Ramadan's going to be gone. But what will we have taken from this month? Just a few weeks ago, we were hearing about Ramadan being a month of mercy, a month of forgiveness, a month of blessings. And we were waiting anxiously to welcome this month. And now, just as this month is about to end, this is also for us to realize, like so will be our life as well. We live our lives thinking that we have a very long time to live. And yet, before we know it, we're on our deathbed, or death suddenly strikes us without any warnings. And so in the same way that we're supposed to utilize these last 10 nights of Ramadan, also remember that the rest of your life is going to pass by just as quickly as these days have gone by. This month is a month of blessings. This month is a month of mercy. And the Prophet ﷺ, he would act and he would perform in this month unlike any other month. This is the month in which Jibreel alayhi salam would come to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and review the Quran with him. They would recite the Quran. And in the last year, in the last Ramadan of his life, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did so twice. And so this shows us that it is from the Sunnah to recite the Quran in this month. This is the month of the Quran. As Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentioned, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. That Shahr Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, is the month in which the Quran was revealed. But then, why is it that we're talking about these blessed 10 nights that are to come? That is because in that is Laylatul Qadr. Within those last 10 nights, we can find Laylatul Qadr. And Aisha radiallahu anha, she narrates that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when these last 10 nights would enter upon him, he would become a stranger to them. He would just start to focus on night worship. He would stay up the whole night in dhikr, in remembering Allah Azza wa Jal, in making dua, in sujood, in prayer, in the recitation of the Quran. And he would also wake his family up during these last 10 nights so that they too could perform in this month. We never have an excuse not to perform in this month. If we are too lazy to pray, or if we get too tired very easily, then Allah Azza wa Jal, He has also given us the ability to recite from the Quran. If we are unable to do that for long periods of time, then we go on to the dua and to the other adhkar. So you don't have to do one thing for the whole night. You try to do everything for the duration of the night. And this is one of those nights where the Prophet ﷺ, he has made it permissible for us to stay up the whole night in prayer. Normally, the Prophet ﷺ, he would not recommend us to do that. He would ask us to sleep a portion of the night and to stand up a portion of the night in prayer to Allah Azza wa Jal. But in these last 10 nights, as we're seeking out Laylatul Qadr, a night that Allah Azza wa Jal has described in the Quran as being better than 1,000 months, we try whatever we can to ensure that, insha'Allah, we stay up that night. And this night, when we talk about 1,000 months, we're talking about over 83 years. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He said it's better than 1,000 months. He didn't say it's similar to 1,000 months. So the ibadah, the worship that you do in this night, it will be worth more than you standing up for 83 years. Some of us, we may not even live to be 83. And so this is from the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal, that He bestows us with these opportunities, in which if we were to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, in which if we were to remember Allah Azza wa Jal, or to recite the Quran or make dua to Him, we can achieve that, and we can perform that for a duration that perhaps extends beyond our own life. And so from the intelligent one is the one who will take this opportunity. The intelligent one is the one who will not take this for granted. The one who shows gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who takes these opportunities and utilizes them. He doesn't allow for these opportunities to go to waste. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bless us all, to allow us to stand the night of Laylatul Qadr and to pray in it and to recite the Quran in it and to make dhikr in it, so that insha'Allah we too could be from the ones who stand up Laylatul Qadr. As the Prophet ﷺ, he had said that the one who fasts and the one who stands up in prayer during the month of Ramadan, he has his previous sins forgiven. And in another authentic narration, the Prophet ﷺ also said, whoever stands the night of Laylatul Qadr in prayer, then he too shall have his previous sins forgiven. And so when we calculate the night nowadays, it's from Maghrib to Fajr. And so in those few hours, we can try to achieve that blessed night. Why is it called Laylatul Qadr? It is the night in which the Quran was revealed from the heavens, from up in the Lawh al-Mahfuz to the lowest heavens, from which it was then sent down bit by bit to the Prophet ﷺ. And so it also shows us the importance of the Quran, this most blessed night, the best night that Allah Azza wa Jal has created. It is so because Allah Azza wa Jal has sent down the Quran. And amongst the other things that Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned is that this evening is also when Allah Azza wa Jal decrees for things. In this night, the angels, they keep coming down. تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالْرُوحُ. And it's not just coming down once. It's not just descending down once. It is over and over. The word tanazzal means to keep on doing this frequently. And from that, we understand that Laylatul Qadr, we can understand three meanings from it. The first is that it is the night of decree, in which the Qadr or the decree is written for the following year. So we worship Allah Azza wa Jal. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal for the best for the following year. And so this is one meaning of Qadr. From another meaning of Qadr is to restrict. As Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in the Quran, وَمَنْ قُدِرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقُهُ. Those whose sustenance or those whose wealth is restricted. And so in this manner, we understand that so many angels come down to this earth that there is no space left anymore. It's so restricted. So imagine the blessings they're bringing down from the heavens as well. And the third meaning that we can derive from Qadr is that of something having magnificence, glory, and that is why we can also call this the night of glory. And so all three of these things, whether it be the night of decree, the night of glory, or the night in which so many angels are coming down with blessings, that there is no space left on earth, all of this is true for that night. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, "Salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr." There is peace until the break of dawn. And what Allah Azza wa Jal means by that is that the angels who come down, they're spreading so much peace. They're sending so many prayers to those who are in worship, those who are involved in the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, those who are involved in the recitation of the Quran and in remembering Allah Azza wa Jal. Do we not want to be of those people? Without looking at the fact that this night is worth more than 83 years, just the fact that this night is so blessed. If we knew something like this on earth, that if we stayed up a night, we would get $1 million. We would ensure that we wake up, and we would also ensure that our family members remain awake as well. What then when Allah Azza wa Jal promises so much more? What then when Allah Azza wa Jal promises you something that is eternal in the hereafter? We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us of those who take this opportunity and who are able to, insha'Allah, stand the night in Laylatul Qadr, who are able to utilize that night in recitation of the Quran, in remembering Allah Azza wa Jal, in making dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept all the other deeds we've been performing so far. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Many of us by now, we're tired, we're exhausted. We welcome the month with great excitement, and we performed in the first few days what we could. And then slowly and slowly our body starts to tire. Slowly and slowly we start to also get bored. It's the same thing. And we don't have the masjid to go to. This has been a very different Ramadan. We don't have the masjid to go to for Taraweeh. And we are doing all these acts of worship ourselves in the house. And we're, in many cases, many of us are writing this Ramadan off. They're saying, you know what? This Ramadan is not the Ramadan that we expected. But insha'Allah, in the following Ramadan, we will try to do what we can. We're just going to write this one off. But we're not guaranteed the next Ramadan. We're not even guaranteed tomorrow. Therefore, it is imperative that we take advantage of these days. When the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that the biggest loser is the one who lives through Ramadan without taking the opportunity to be forgiven by Allah Azza wa Jal. He meant it for every single Ramadan. Whether that's with coronavirus and the masajid being closed, or whether that's with the masjids open and us attending the masjid and staying in the masjid the whole night. We won't be having i'tikaf, but that doesn't mean that we can't stay at home and stay up the night in prayer and doing the adhkar and remembering Allah Azza wa Jal in the recitation of the Quran and trying to understand the meaning of the Quran. All these things are still possible, even in our house. It's actually from the blessings of Allah Azza wa Jal that He hasn't allotted just the masjids for us to do or engage in acts of worship. We can do so wherever we are on earth. As the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that from some of the things that he was given that no other previous nation was given, was that this whole world, this whole earth, was made a masjid for him, a place where he could pray. And so don't write this Ramadan off. Be from those who Allah Azza wa Jal frees from the fire. As the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned every single night during this month, Allah Azza wa Jal frees people from the fire of hell. If you haven't taken the opportunity so far to do so, you still have half the month left to do greatness. If you haven't been taking advantage of this month, you still have the last portion of the month to do so. The Prophet ﷺ, in a narration, he had said that the actions are by their end, how we end the actions. And so just like in a race, just when you're about to get to the finish line, that is where you start to sprint. Or if you look at the racehorse, that's where the horse will start to gallop and give it all that it has. Doesn't matter how hard it's panting, it sees the finish line and it tries to run towards it. For us, we see Ramadan coming to an end. We see the last 10 nights coming, in which the Prophet ﷺ, he told us to seek out Laylatul Qadr. When is Laylatul Qadr? Allahu A'lam. There are narrations that mention that it's on the 27th night of Ramadan, and there are other narrations as well. And so the intelligent person is the one who will ensure that every single night they treat it like Laylatul Qadr in the last 10 nights, in the hopes that, or to guarantee that they do indeed stand that night in prayer, so that they indeed get that night that is worth more than 83 years. If in this life we are willing to wait in long lineups to get a product, perhaps even overnight, what then when Allah Azza wa Jal, He's offering us something way better than all that is on this earth? If you were to take everything on this earth, from the time it was created till the time it ends, the person who enters paradise gets more than that. In fact, he gets 10 times more than that. And this is the reward of the last person entering Jannah. What then of those who are at the forefront? What then of those who are racing towards the finish line? We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us understand, or to help us understand, the magnitude of this evening, of why the Prophet ﷺ and his companions and the righteous people after them would try to ensure that they stand this prayer in worship of Allah Azza wa Jal. And many of us, we think that if we do so, that means for the rest of our lives, we don't have to do anything. That's not true either. Allah Azza wa Jal, He has given us these opportunities to perform. And in fact, it is only the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal, if we are able to attain it, that allows us to enter into Jannah. So don't think that just because you spent your life or your time in Ramadan in the worship of Allah, or you spent the last 10 nights in the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal, that during the rest of the year, you don't have to pray, you don't have to fast, you don't have to engage in any things that are beneficial for you, or for you to be able to leave off the obligations. Allah Azza wa Jal, He has clearly mentioned in the Quran that those who turn away from the truth, doesn't matter how much they had done before, if they die in a state that is a very miserable state of disbelief, or they die in a state that is not good, then all his or her actions would have gone to waste. They would be like the ashes scattered in the wind. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to not only allow us to spend these last days of Ramadan in His worship, in His dua, but that also the remaining life that we have left, however short, however long it may be, is spent pleasing Allah Azza wa Jal. Ramadan is supposed to be a booster for us for the rest of the year. It's supposed to reinvigorate us. It's also supposed to allow us to recalibrate that compass so that the priorities that we're supposed to have throughout the year, they get revised. We remember what our purpose is in this world. We remember what this life actually is. And we remember the hereafter in which we shall meet Allah Azza wa Jal with our book of deeds. And it will be said to us, read your book of deeds, and you are enough of an accountant for yourself. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He accepts all our acts of worship in this month, from our fasts, from our recitation of the Quran, from our du'as, from our adhkar, from our remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to allow it to be on the scale of good deeds. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to allow us to finish this month with all our sins forgiven. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give victory to Muslims all over the world, those who are oppressed, those who are facing an eternal Ramadan, in the sense that they don't get to eat, they don't get to drink throughout the year by choice, forcefully. For us, when it's time for iftar, when it's maghrib time, we have a table full of food. And for them, even during the rest of the year, many of them, they don't have anything to eat. Many of them, they don't have anything to drink. And yes, there still are people dying from hunger. There still are people dying from poverty. There still are people dying because of people oppressing them and punishing them and torturing them. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to alleviate their suffering. And those who have passed away from them, we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept them from the shuhada. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive us and our parents of all the sins, and to grant us a place in Jannah, and that all our future generations, insha'Allah, they remain upon Islam, they remain doing acts that are pleasing to Allah Azza wa Jal, submitting to Him, realizing what this life is. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal that on this day, this Friday, Allah Azza wa Jal accepts from us all our du'as as well. In this day, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned, there is an hour when a person makes du'a in it, it is answered and it is accepted. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وارض اللهم عن الخلفاء الراشدين الأربعة المهديين أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وعن سائر الصحابة أجمعين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وذل الشرك والمشركين اللهم انصرنا اللهم تقبل منا صيامنا وقيامنا ودعاءنا وقراءتنا وتلاوتنا للقرآن. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. And those following at home, please pray your dhuhr as a regular 4 rak'ahs.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Just want to remind our brothers and sisters that we have virtual programs every day. You can watch on Facebook and YouTube. A couple of programs we have every day are, please join us also for every day at 7 p.m. for the thematic summary of Quran by Sheikh Usama. Live Quran recitation every day after Sahur, Sheikh there. Sheikh Hatham Jabbar will speak on the topic of virtual connection on weekdays at 5 p.m. We also have a program today, this Sunday, by Dr. Ibad Naqvi at 1:30 p.m., where he will talk about how to spend the last 10 days of Ramadan. We also have daily Ramadan quiz after at 9 p.m. Please join that. Last but not least, Alfalah needs your generous support. This is the month of Ramadan. Usually we raise funds in this month for the whole year. But this year, Masjid is closed. So when Masjid will reopen, we all want to see Masjid is functional. So please donate generously. You can donate by visiting our website. Send a check to Alfalah by mail. Jazakallah khair. Again, please pray your 4 rakats and not 2. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.